On a tiny Italian island, a small herd of white donkeys with ice blue eyes has been living wild for centuries, cut off from the rest of the world, adapting quietly on their own. Nobody planned for them to be there. Nobody planned for them to survive. They just did. There are donkeys in this world with coats like dreadlocks. Donkeys that were gifted to kings. Donkeys that carried water across volcanic rock for generations of families who could not have survived without them. There are fewer than 50 of one breed left alive anywhere on Earth. There are breeds so gentle they work in therapy programs, standing quietly beside children who need something steady. These 15 mini donkeys are small enough to fit in a farmyard and old enough to have witnessed centuries of human history. Here are their stories. 1. Jerusalem donkey, the cross on its back. Every Jerusalem donkey carries the same marking. A dark stripe running down the spine and another crossing the shoulders, forming a cross in the fur. According to a tradition held across the Middle East for centuries, this mark has been on the breed since the donkey that carried Jesus into Jerusalem. The story attached to this animal is older than most countries. What makes the Jerusalem donkey remarkable beyond its markings is its temperament. Families describe them as expressive, affectionate, and almost dogs in their loyalty, following their owners around, seeking out contact, forming bonds that last years. They are calm with children and patient in ways that make them natural family animals. Pure Jerusalem donkeys with well-defined markings are becoming harder to find. Breeders who keep them speak about the responsibility carefully. These are not just animals. They are the continuation of something that has been passed down across generations and across faiths. Each one is a living piece of a story most people only know from text. 2. Grand Noir du Berry, the midnight beauty of France. The Grand Noir du Berry is deep, glossy black, a coat that catches sunlight and holds it differently than any other donkey. Its long, dark-tipped ears and upright frame give it an elegance that makes people stop and look twice. Children who see one for the first time often ask if it is a small horse. It comes from the Berry region of France, where for generations it worked farms, pulled carts, and carried goods across the countryside. Families who owned one were considered prosperous. The donkeys were presented as prestigious gifts between landowners. They were woven into the social fabric of rural French life in a way that is difficult to imagine now. The 20th century nearly ended them. As machinery replaced farm animals, the Grand Noir du Berry lost its purpose and its numbers collapsed. Only a handful of purebred lines remain. Small groups of dedicated breeders are now working carefully to preserve what is left, selecting pairs to maintain the signature coat and the calm temperament that made this breed so valued for so long. Every Grand Noir du Berry alive today is a thread connecting the present to something that almost disappeared entirely. 3. Norman donkey, the painted face. The Norman donkey looks like someone painted it. White rings circle its eyes and muzzle against a soft gray coat. Markings so precise and distinctive that once you have seen one, you cannot mistake it for anything else. Its sturdy, compact body and those remarkable facial markings make it one of the most photographed donkey breeds in the world. In the late 1990s, there were fewer than 250 known purebred Norman donkeys in existence. That number was close enough to extinction that breeders in France recognized they were watching a living breed disappear in real time. Urgent conservation programs were launched. Numbers climbed slowly back. Today, there are around 1,400 purebred Norman donkeys worldwide. It is still considered rare. Breeders warn that without continued attention, that number could fall again quickly. But the breed is here, gentle, loyal, described by everyone who works with them as dog-like in its affection, and the painted face is still here with it. 4. Catalan donkey, gifted to kings. Centuries ago, the Catalan donkey was considered a treasure of Spain. It was gifted to kings and nobles as a symbol of prestige. Its deep black coat, muscular build, and regal bearing made it something people wanted to be seen owning. It had status in a way that very few animals do. It was also deeply practical. The rocky landscapes of Catalonia demanded a strong, sure-footed animal that could haul heavy loads without complaint, and the Catalan donkey was built exactly for that. Farmers relied on it. The land shaped it, and it shaped the land in return. Today, conservationists estimate that only a very small number of purebred Catalan donkeys remain. The decline of traditional farming took away its working role, and without that, the population had no natural reason to grow. Breeding programs have become essential. The donkey once gifted to royalty now depends on small groups of dedicated breeders to survive at all, a reversal of fortune that carries its own kind of weight. 5. Poitou donkey, the shaggy legend. The Poitou donkey looks like no other animal on Earth. Its coat grows in long, thick ropes that hang down like natural dreadlocks, swaying as it walks. Breeders say it should never be trimmed. The wild matted coat is not an accident or a sign of neglect. It is the breed. It is what the Poitou is. For centuries in France, the Poitou was a symbol of wealth. It was bred specifically to produce powerful mules for farming and transport, and owning one was considered a mark of status. They were kept on large estates and carefully guarded. Their strength and size made them exceptionally valuable. When machinery replaced working animals, the Poitou lost everything that had made it valuable, and its numbers fell dramatically. Today, it is critically endangered. Specialized breeding programs are working to bring it back, but progress is slow. What these programs are trying to save is not just a breed, it is one of the most visually extraordinary animals that has ever walked a French field. Shaggy coat swaying, looking like something a child would draw if asked to invent an animal. 6. Asinara donkey, the fairy donkeys of the island. On the remote Italian island of Asinara, a small population of donkeys lives wild. They are entirely white, with ice-blue eyes. Locals have always called them fairy donkeys. The name fits. The story of how they got there is unclear. The most widely held theory is that they descended from animals abandoned on the island when it was used as a quarantine zone and later as a prison site. With no natural predators and very limited human contact, they survived on their own, adapting to the rugged island environment across generations. Over time, the white coat became fixed in the population, possibly linked to a rare genetic condition, until an entire small herd carried it. Because they exist only on this one island, they are extraordinarily vulnerable. Italian wildlife protection laws now safeguard them carefully. Visitors to Asinara are monitored. The herd is watched over. To see an Asinara donkey in person is considered a once-in-a-lifetime experience. A white animal with blue eyes, living wild on a Mediterranean island, product of centuries of isolation. There is genuinely nothing else like it. 7. Majera donkey, built for the volcanic rock. The Canary Islands are not easy terrain. Rocky, volcanic, scorching, with long stretches without fresh water. The Majera donkey evolved to survive all of it. Its compact, muscular body, short coarse hair, and sturdy legs are not aesthetic choices. They are the result of generations living in conditions that would have eliminated any animal that was not built exactly right. For the families who lived on these islands, the Majera was not a convenience, it was essential. It carried water and supplies across paths where no cart or vehicle could go. Without it, daily life on the rougher parts of the islands simply could not function. Locals call it the desert donkey. It is friendly and curious despite its toughness. Farmers describe animals that form quick bonds with humans and become genuinely affectionate companions alongside their practical role. The introduction of imported breeds to the Canary Islands is believed to have driven crossbreeding that reduced the number of pure Majera donkeys significantly. What remains is a small population of true originals, animals shaped by one of the most demanding environments in Europe, still carrying the temperament of something that learned to trust people by surviving alongside them. 8. Asno de las Encartaciones, Spain's smallest fighter. A fully grown adult Asno de las Encartaciones can stand no taller than a large dog. It is, by some accounts, the smallest donkey breed in existence. What makes that remarkable is not the size itself, but what that size was capable of. These small animals worked farms in northern Spain for generations, carried loads, helped with vineyard tasks, and were relied upon completely by families who had no alternative. Its appearance is almost toy-like. Dark, soft coat, gentle eyes, finely shaped features. Owners describe them as lively, playful, full of energy when they are not working, and deeply affectionate with the people who raise them. Their size makes them particularly good with children. Today, the Asno de las Encartaciones is critically endangered. Disease outbreaks, competition with other breeds, and the end of traditional small farming combined to bring the population down to a critical low. Conservation groups now treat each surviving animal as irreplaceable, a living piece of northern Spanish rural history, packed into a body smaller than most people expect an animal with this much history to occupy. 9. Miniature Mediterranean donkey, the companion that crossed an ocean. On the islands of Sicily and Sardinia, families kept small donkeys for centuries to carry water and produce across rocky paths too narrow for larger animals. They were compact enough to live alongside the family, strong enough to do genuine work, gentle enough that children grew up beside them. They became part of household life in the way that working animals do when they are reliable enough to trust completely. Today, the miniature Mediterranean donkey is one of the most widely kept miniature donkeys in the world. Under 3 feet tall, a coat that comes in gray, brown, black, or spotted, large expressive eyes, they are, by almost any measure, exactly what people imagine when they picture a small donkey. Their temperament translates directly into therapeutic work. Programs across multiple countries use them with children, the elderly, and people recovering from trauma. Something about a small, gentle animal standing quietly beside a person who needs steadiness has a measurable effect. The donkeys that once carried water across Sicilian hillsides now stand in therapy rooms and do something entirely different, and somehow equally important. 10. Amiatina donkey, Tuscany's second chance. Before the Second World War, there were over 8,000 Amiatina donkeys spread across the Tuscan provinces of Graciosa and Perugia. They were a common sight, working animals, trusted companions, part of the fabric of rural life in one of the most beautiful landscapes in Europe. After the war, that number collapsed. Industrial farming arrived, traditional agriculture contracted, and the breed lost the role that had sustained it. By the mid-20th century, it was nearly extinct. What saved it was a group of breeders who recognized what was being lost and began selective breeding programs in the 1950s. A dedicated association was formed in 1993. The work was slow and meticulous. In 2006, there were just over 1,000 registered Amiatina donkeys worldwide. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization lists the breed as endangered, but it is here, 1,000 animals where there were almost none. The result of decades of careful, committed work by people who believed that Tuscany's hills deserved to still carry the sound of this particular animal moving across them. 11. Maltese donkey, fewer than 50 left. For years, there were serious doubts about whether the Maltese donkey still existed at all. It was not until 2024, after more than a decade of research by the Maltese Landraces Research Group, that the breed was officially confirmed to still be alive, and that confirmation came with an urgent call. Fewer than 50 pure Maltese donkeys remain anywhere in the world. Each surviving animal is now treated almost like a living artifact. Researchers document every individual. Breeders and scientists work together to identify which animals are purebred and to create conditions where they can reproduce safely. The bloodline is so fragile that a single mistake in breeding management could cause permanent damage to what remains. These donkeys were once essential to Malta, compact and sure-footed, perfectly built for the island's rocky terrain and narrow village paths, carrying water and goods for families who depended on them. Modern transportation ended that role. Crossbreeding eroded the pure lines. The population fell so quietly that for a time, people were not certain anything was left. There is something left. 50 animals, carefully watched, in the place their ancestors have always been. 12. Burro de Ilha Graciosa, 70 animals, one island. In the 1960s, there were approximately 1,000 Burro de Ilha Graciosa donkeys on the small Azorian island of Graciosa in Portugal. Today, there are around 70. The decline happened across decades, quietly, without adequate documentation, because for most of that time, the breed was not officially recognized or recorded, which meant no protection programs existed to slow what was happening. The remaining animals now suffer from low genetic diversity, which makes breeding more difficult and survival more precarious. A recovery program led by the University of the Azores is working to address this alongside a breeders' association tracking bloodlines. Locals call them living treasures and mean it in the most literal sense. Each remaining animal represents an irreplaceable thread in the population's genetic fabric. They are small, soft-coated, and affectionate, animals that people who work with them describe as immediately endearing. 70 of them remain on an island where 1,000 once walked. The work being done to bring that number back up is some of the most important quiet conservation happening in Europe right now. 13. Sardinian mini donkey, the village races. In rural Sardinia, children race these donkeys. Not competitively, not seriously. Just the way children have always found ways to turn the animals they live alongside into something joyful. The Sardinian mini donkey is small, calm, and sturdy, which makes it perfectly suited for this. And the races have become part of village life in a way that reflects something genuine about the relationship between the people and the animals. The breed is built for the island's terrain. Short legs, compact body, gray or brown coat, sometimes with faint striping along the back. It was essential for carrying produce and water through the narrow, uneven paths of rural Sardinia for generations. Its dependability made it a family animal in the fullest sense. The population has faced pressure over the years from changing lifestyles, and, in parts of Europe, the consumption of donkey meat. Local breeding programs are working to maintain stable numbers and protect the breed as part of Sardinia's living heritage. The races still happen. The children still run beside them across the same ground their grandparents ran across. 14. Irish mini donkey, the animal that stays in Ireland. The Irish mini donkey is common in Ireland and rare almost everywhere else. Finding one outside the country usually means importing one. Breeders monitor exports carefully to protect bloodlines, which means most of the world has simply never encountered this breed in person. It has a thick winter coat adapted to the cold, damp Irish climate, rounded features, and a smaller frame that makes it particularly well suited to children and families with limited space. People who own them consistently describe them as following their owners around like dogs, seeking out company, thriving on interaction in a way that makes them genuinely affectionate, rather than simply tolerant of human presence. They worked small Irish farms for generations, carrying goods, helping with light chores, before their role shifted toward companionship. That shift seems to suit them. They are animals that want to be near people, and the green fields of Irish farms give them the space to express that freely. Their rarity abroad makes them sought after by breeders and enthusiasts internationally, but most of them stay in Ireland, in the landscape they were shaped by. 15. Corsican donkey, tough island, soft heart. The Corsican donkey is compact and dark-coated with a lighter muzzle and underbelly that gives it a look of quiet elegance. It navigates the steep, rocky paths of Corsica with the kind of natural balance that comes from generations of island life. It is not a large animal, but it is a capable one, and the island made it that way. What owners and breeders consistently describe is the contrast between its rugged competence and its personal warmth. Once a Corsican donkey trusts someone, it becomes affectionate in the specific physical way of animals that want contact, nudging for attention, following its caretaker, participating in whatever is happening nearby. Families who raise them say it becomes part of the household in a way that is hard to explain until you have experienced it. Because the breed has never been widely exported, finding one outside Corsica is genuinely rare. Local programs are working to keep the population healthy and the bloodlines intact, so the breed remains what the island shaped it to be. This is the last of 15 breeds. Some of them are thriving. Some are down to 50 animals, or 70, or a few hundred carefully monitored individuals whose bloodlines are tracked the way you would track something genuinely irreplaceable. What connects all 15 is the same thing: small animals that carried enormous weight, literally and otherwise, for the people who needed them. Most of the world has never heard of them. They deserve to still be here when it does. 50 Maltese donkeys, 70 on a Portuguese island, a handful of pure Catalan donkeys that were once gifted to kings. These animals carried water up volcanic rock, worked vineyards in northern Spain, stood in therapy rooms beside children who needed something calm and steady. Some of them are so close to gone that the people trying to save them speak about each individual birth as a victory. Some of them are living wild on islands they have had entirely to themselves for centuries. If this is the kind of story you want more of, the small ones, the old ones, the ones that almost disappeared, subscribe. There are more of them. There are always more.